Hey, what's up? Dave with Brazos Barbell. So if you've been following the channel or following me online, one of the things you've probably seen is a little bit of the rise and fall and then recent regained success of my deadlift. And so today I wanted to talk about the cueing and some of the process I've been using to make my deadlift kind of recover and to feel a whole lot more natural for me. So one of the things I was doing in the past is I was trying to try to make my deadlift look too pretty and not just connect a lot of or check a lot of the boxes that I usually do to just make it feel right. So the big two cues for me is really just making sure that I have long arms and good feeling in my legs. That really takes care of my setup. So as long as I think about those two things, for the most part, it feels pretty natural. So the video today is going to be about the one cue that I use to make sure that the lift looks good and stays good off of the floor. So the cue I've been using a lot for myself and then for a lot of my lifters is just to pull your chest through your arms. I've covered this in a few other videos, but I think it does a lot of really good things. So if I'm saying I want to pull my chest through my arms, I think it takes care of creating tension in the back. I've talked about how I don't really cue a lot of lat tension. I want that to happen. I do want the upper back to be tight. And I've talked about some of the reasons I don't necessarily cue that in the squat. But we want your lats to be tight, so I think a different cue can work better. So if I cue back tightness or lats or any of those kind of things, I think what happens for the most part is that people tend to pull their arms into their body more than they should. And if they're not doing that well, then they end up losing position even more, and then we miss the reps at the top. So if we're doing a good job of making your arms long during the setup, I can cue chest through your arms to leave the floor, and that ends up creating that back tension that we want and ends up giving a good cue about trying to maintain trunk angle through the whole lift. So if I'm cueing these things correctly, I should be getting the back tension and the really trunk rigidity, but finding a way that also still maintains the other cues that I wanted to accomplish, being the tension in the quads to get my hips a little higher and the long arms. So whenever we're coming up with cues for lifters, for anybody, we want to find the cues that do the most things by saying the least. So if I say something like, hold the orange in your armpit or whatever they're saying there, or break the bar in half, I think we're only accomplishing one thing, and then we're still going to need another cue for how do I leave the floor well. So it ends up creating confusion. So trying to limit the cues that I'm using will make the lift make a whole lot more sense. So that's been a big one for me, is that instead of me trying to rediscover my setup or to change things like trying to put myself into a more upright position or any of those kind of things, I've just been thinking about pulling my chest through my arms, and my deadlift has really been able to get a whole lot better. So one of the mistakes I think I was making before was I was trying to put too much emphasis on what would be the ideal sumo posture, being really upright and trying to maintain that off the floor. And even though it may look like I'm pretty upright, a lot of that just is anatomy with long arms and all of that. I'm not trying to be as upright as I possibly can. I could get into a more upright posture, but that would make my hips end up being lower and too much work off my quads. So the two cues that I've mainly been working on, the last video covered the leg extension or the feeling in the quads to set your hips well. And then after that, it's just pulling my chest through my arms. So if we can try to simplify and we can try to just come up with one or two words, cues that make things make a whole lot of sense, then I think we'll be a lot more consistent. So with your deadlifts, try the chest to the arms cue. Don't change anything else. Let those arms hang long and then get the lift going by pulling your chest through, and hopefully that'll make your deadlift better. So if you like the video, give me a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you next time.